Introduction to Secondary Sources for the Advanced Legal Research course at Boston College Law School. To understand secondary sources, you need to first know what primary sources are. In law, primary sources are statements of the law itself as created by governmental actors. In American law, these can take the form of a constitution or charter, statutes or ordinances, cases or regulations. This primary law can be binding on a decision maker. Secondary sources are things written about the law. They are never binding, have different levels of persuasiveness, and serve a number of very useful purposes in legal research. Most lawyers, most of the time, begin their research with a secondary source. There are a number of reasons for this. First, they're generally easier to read and understand than primary sources. Very few judges or legislators were selected for their writing skills. Beyond that, cases can only deal with the controversy before the court. Sometimes a decision might list all the elements of a tort before discussing in detail the particulars of the element the decision rests on, but there is no requirement that it do so. Statutes, on the other hand, are sometimes purposefully drafted to be vague as part of the compromise process by which the legislators are able to get particular legislation enacted. Next, secondary sources tend to be well organized. Unlike judges writing a decision, secondary source authors are free to begin their discussion wherever they think makes the most sense, providing background and a logical progression of all the major points. They often have tables of contents. They can help you find specific discussions within them, and they can help you understand the structure of the law as a whole. The next great thing about secondary sources is that they contain citations to primary materials. Legal authors don't write about the law without providing the reader references to actual sources of law that the authors use to formulate their opinions. This allows the reader to decide for his or herself if the author of the secondary source correctly interpreted the law being explained. Finally, while secondary sources can lead you to lots of authorities, they also lead you to the best authorities, including leading cases. While it is easy to do a word search and find every case that uses your search terms, a secondary source will let you know which case you should be reading first. It sort of takes the place of your first-year legal writing professor, who suggested which cases you should read first to get you started in the right direction in analyzing a particular legal issue. There are many types of secondary sources, which include treatises, periodicals, and specialty sources. Let's take a look at each of these. Periodicals are collections of articles that come out periodically, such as once a week or twice a year. There are four major types of legal periodicals: law reviews, bar journals, legal newspapers, and legal newsletters. Most American law reviews are published at law schools with student editorial boards and are the most likely to be used in persuasive writing. These can be useful when dealing with newer cases and statutes or cutting-edge issues. Periodicals on point can be found through full-text searching or by using periodical indexes. There is a separate video on finding law review articles using indexes. Today, most academic law reviews are published electronically as well as in print. If you're looking for older law review articles, one of the most convenient and comprehensive sources is the Hein Online Law Journal Library, which contains PDF images of more than 2,800 academic and commercially produced periodicals from their first issue. Treatises are books that deal formally and systematically with a particular subject. They are usually written by an expert in the field and can be one or more volumes. These have the potential to be considered highly persuasive and may be cited in persuasive legal writing as support for a particular interpretation of primary law. Legal treatises, like other types of books, are found in library catalogs. More and more treatises are available as e-books through the major legal research platforms. Our library catalog provides links to locate online treatises in addition to information on how to find the treatise in the law library. If you're looking for a treatise recommendation, you can use the Boston College Law Library Research Guide, Major Legal Treatises by Subject. In addition to providing call numbers, the book's address on our library shelves, this guide also provides information on treatise availability on the major legal research platforms Lexis, Westlaw, Bloomberg Law, and Hein Online. Another secondary source is the restatement of the law. Restatements began as an attempt to codify the existing common law by the leading legal scholars of the day. Eventually, these scholars decided not to just restate the common law, but to suggest what it should be, which they did in the Restatement Second Series. This highly persuasive secondary source was adopted as the law in many jurisdictions. The Restatement Appendix provides references to cases adopting the restatement rule. One type of general specialty source that can be useful in any kind of legal research is the Legal Encyclopedia, which contains short articles on different legal topics arranged in alphabetical order. The oldest legal encyclopedia is Corpus Juris Secundum, known as CJS. CJS is now available as a Westlaw database. Another general legal encyclopedia is American Jurisprudence Second, called AmJur. AmJur is also available on the Westlaw platform. There are also state legal encyclopedias like New York Jurisprudence and Ohio Jurisprudence, which are more useful if you're performing legal research within a state that has its own legal encyclopedia. Another specialty source in legal research is American Law Reports, ALR. ALR contains articles called annotations that discuss particular legal topics that were inspired by an individual case that made some major change to the established law in that area. ALR has its own indexes and is also searchable on both Lexis and Westlaw. Another type of specialty source used to be called a loose leaf service, but now we call these a topical service. Most of these services are hybrids containing primary law on a topic, as well as commentaries and finding aids in a format that allowed for quick updating. One important aspect of the topical service was its ability to provide information on current developments in the law. While some topical services are still available in print, most have transitioned to electronic access only, like US Law Week, shown here, which provides nationwide coverage of important developments in all areas of the law. US Law Week is now available only on the Bloomberg Law platform. The U.S. Supreme Court section of Law Week details case dockets, petitions filed, certiorari status, scheduled hearings, and summaries of those cases granted cert. Another platform which contains many former loose leaf services is Cheetah from Wolters Kluwer. It contains electronic versions of loose leaf services formerly published by Commerce Clearinghouse, CCH, in a variety of practice areas.